Hey guys, so today we're going to start looking at factoring polynomials. So the first thing you should do when factoring a polynomial is try to factor out a greatest common factor. So factoring out a greatest common factor. So first thing we're going to look at here is we're going to look at the numbers. And we're going to try to find what the greatest common factor is. So for example, the factors of 21 are 1 and 21. 2 does not go into 21 evenly. 3 and 7. So those are your factors of 21. All of these numbers go into 21 evenly. Okay? 9. So the factors for 9 are 1 and 9 and 3 times 3. So those are the factors of 9. And then for 12, we have 1 and 12, 2 and 6, and 3 and 4. Quite a few factors for 12. So we want to get the greatest common one. So 3, 3, and 3. That's the greatest common. That's the one that they have in common. That's the biggest. So 3 is what we're going to factor out of this polynomial. We always want to do this first if possible. So factoring out that, what you do is you put that factor on the outside, open up a parentheses, and then we go ahead and divide. So what's the factor? 3 times what is 21? So 3 times 7. 3 goes into 9 3 times. 3 goes into 12 4 times. Now notice the letters just came down. We don't have any common letters, and we'll talk about that in the next example. So I just factored this by factoring out a 3, the greatest common factor. So there's example 1. All right, let's take a look at example 2. Okay, now notice that my coefficients are 1, 1, and 1. So there's no use factoring out a 1. So we don't need to factor out a greatest common number factor. Now we're going to look at the letters. Notice that in each term we have 6 m's. So that would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 m's, 3 n's, n times n times n. So this represents that. And here we have 4 m's and 1 n. And then here we have 2 m's. So we want to factor out a greatest common variable factor. So what's the most m's that we can factor out of each? Well, look for the lowest number of m's. So we can factor out 2 m's here, 2 m's here, and 2 m's here. So we're going to factor out 2 m's, or m squared. Okay, so if I factor it out of here, take 2 away. Factor out here, take 2 away. If I factor out here, that leaves us with no m's. Now, what about n's? We got 3 of them, 1 of them, and 0 of them. So what is the greatest common number of n's? Well, they don't have n in common. Just these two do, but not this one. So we can't factor out an n because this one does not have an n. So we're factoring out an m squared. So what do we have left? We have m to the 4th, n cubed, okay, plus we have an m squared and an n. And then here, since we got rid of those, we're going to put a 1 because it's 1 m squared. So there's a 1. So when these go away, the 1 shows up and takes its spot. And there you go. So m squared gets factored out. So in the previous example, they had no letters in common, so we didn't factor out any letters, any variables. Okay, let's take a look at the next example. Okay, so when looking for a common variable, you're looking for a variable that's present in each term. Then you want to factor out the variable with the lowest degree, the lowest power, the lowest exponent. Okay, so here's an x in each term, and so the lowest exponent is 5. So we're going to factor out x to the 5th. Okay, so here we got a y in each term. Okay, that has to be there in each term, otherwise you can't factor it. And then you want the lowest exponent, so that would be y to the 3rd. Okay, so that leaves us with 7 minus 5, so that leaves us with 2 x's and no y's because we took all 3 out. So next term, we took 5 from 6, leaving us with 1x. Took 3 from 3, leaving us with no y's. Okay, x's, we took 5 from 5, leaving us with no x's. We took 3 from 4, leaving us with a y. So look for the common variable with the lowest exponent. That's what you would factor out. Okay, one more example. Okay, so factoring this one, first we see that we have some coefficients here. Now remember, we always looked for the greatest common factor. So even though 2 goes into each of these numbers evenly, so they share that factor, that we do not want to go with the smallest number. We want to go with the largest common factor, which in this case would be 6. 6 goes into each of these evenly, so 6 is the greatest common factor. Now notice that they all have a variable in common, an x. So remember, we go with the smallest exponent. So we're going to factor out just x. So 6 goes into 6 one time. We took an x from x squared, leaving us with an x. 6 goes into 12 two times. We took an x from an x, leaving us with nothing. 6 goes into 18 three times. And then we took an x from x cubed, which leaves us with x squared. Remember, we subtract. It tells us how many are left over. So we have, this is one factor, and then I'm going to reorder this, and this is the other factor. So this times this gives you this. Okay, hope you're having a good weekend. Don't forget to take the quiz. See you guys on Monday. I'll be checking these video notes Monday morning during my conference period. Have a great weekend.